Very lovely.
Recording in progress.
Yes, it is being recorded.
Yeah.
So Michael, it shouldn't surprise us that people are coming late, kind of like the way they've been supplying their information as engines.
Mapangule.
Did you upload your man overboard video? Did you upload your emergency steering video? Did you fill out all the details on your boat like the draft? So we don't put you someplace where you hit the bottom. Do you have a pretty picture? As your inspector said, yeah, you're good. They went on the website and said you're good to go.
Unfortunately, the inspectors didn't take into account all that other stuff, just the PSER stuff.
As Michael said, have you paid your deposit for your tracker? In case you disappear with it, we're okay.
Yeah, we don't care. We'll look for you if you owe us money.
Kind of no fair to people who get here on time. You're stuck here waiting for the people who are a little tardy. On a Saturday afternoon, there's no excuse. It's not like there's a traffic problem. Okay, we are going to get rolling. So let's do this again. Okay, so I'm Jim Quancy, Commodore for this year's Pacific Cup. I'm just going to start with, it's been 4 years, the whole 2020 craziness. And this year's been a little crazy, as we've all been watching COVID, coming and going, and what strain, and is this going to work, and what should I do? And us doing the Skippers and Navigators meeting actually allowed you to be virtual and not be here in person like we've had in the past for good reason. I'm sure people are a bit nervous about. So if I get on the boat and one of the crew turns out to have COVID, we're all going to have it by the end of the trip. So how's that go? Though I will say I travel a lot for work. I've kind of been around the world the last month or two. A lot of airports, a lot of airplanes, a lot of conferences, a lot of customers. All good. So cross your fingers. Yeah. Okay, so to get really started here, I did want to start with, I don't know if anybody here is in the construction field. Whenever they have meetings, they start with a safety moment, or maybe you're in the petrochemical area, do the same thing. They always start meetings with safety moments. This is our turn to do this safety moment. It's only a few weeks ago, the skipper of a boat in the Newport Bermuda race died. So I'd like everybody to take a sec, recognize that. And I want to say, most of you in the room right now are the Skippers and Navigators. The most frequent person to go overboard without being tethered in is the skipper. It's happened a couple times, and it's usually the skipper. And the second most popular person to go overboard is a pro who gets paid to do the sailing. The amateurs tend to be really good and disciplined and a bit nervous that, hey, things could go bad. So they tend to be very disciplined. So let me just reinforce, it's 3 in the morning, and it's a bit of a shit show, pardon the French. And people are, running out from down below on deck to pick up what's left of your spinnaker. Safety first, take the time. Have your inflatable on, be tethered in. If you're tethered in, it's pretty hard to get in trouble if you're tethered in. If you're not tethered in, it's really easy, real fast to get in trouble. Now we're here to have a lot of fun, and to have great fun, it's like belt and braces. Hey, I'm tethered in, I'm good to go, I can have a good fun. I don't need to worry about it. I'm slipping on the foredeck. Yeah. So great, and with that safety moment, we will keep moving. Oh, items due, I kind of said some of that. Were you gonna show that again, Michael?
Yeah, we got a wall of shame. We got.
I will say, I hope we got a little stern with the email on Friday for people who were missing things, and I hope that didn't create too much gnashing of teeth or crew looking at each other on who was supposed to do that. But yeah, as of yesterday, we still have quite a bit of empty items. I would like to thank those of you who hustled, because right now the list is getting pretty short. The number of boats who are still missing things, 3, 6, 9. And for those 9, just recognize you can't start the race. You're not an entry unless you finish with everything. Now, I do realize some of the big boats who start later in the week are actually doing things like man overboard practices and getting their videos later this week when all their crew shows up, because they've got crew coming in from all over the country. So we understand, that's happening.
Pie Racket's a good example.
Yeah, and the Pie Wacket folks have been, Robbie, they've been really good about explaining and communicating with us. The ones that scare us is people who don't communicate. We send emails, we try to call them, and they don't get back to us. So we've got a handful of those. If you're one of those, if you saw your name on the list and you're like, I thought I was done, whether you grab me, whether you grab Michael, who was our Commodore 2 years ago, current staff Commodore, to come talk about what you're missing, we're happy to do that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay,
And with that, I'm going to hand it to Michael.
okay.
Now,
Will you be my screen guy?
yes, I will screen by Michael.
Okay,
But I will start out. The sailing instructions are out there. You should have read them. Somebody else on the boat should have read them. Every sentence, you should know what they are. So Michael's going to go through some of the traps, but you're really responsible for the sailing instructions and the notice of race. And you think it's obvious, but there's always a couple boats who have issues. And this is the fun race of Hawaii, and dealing with issues when people kind of didn't read the details is not fun. It's not fun for the entrant, it's not fun for you, it's not fun for the organizers of the race. Will you go, Mike?
I gotta do a screen share.
Oh,
Forgot about the screen share.
I hope I don't have to do anything but hit the enter button.
That's all you'll have to do.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. All right. Okay.
So when we first started doing this, we'd always open the meetings by saying, aloha.
Aloha.
Yeah, that was pretty good. We will not embarrass ourselves by doing it repeatedly. First of all, thank you very much to Jim Quancy for stepping up and being Commodore. I made it look like a terrible time because I got to cancel the first race we ever did. But we're in business now. There's a lot of volunteers that make this possible. And I gotta say, people have been just great this year. I mean, we sent out, as Jim said, some fairly snotty emails telling people they were not authorized to start the race. We will be finding you and beating you, things like that. But I think everybody's very excited to be doing this. It's great to be back on the water. For a lot of us, actually, I was downstairs talking to Bobby Tossi, for example. We haven't run this race in 4 years. We've forgotten how some of the things work. So if you see us doing something wrong, be a little gentle with us. However, you also don't want to do anything wrong. There's not a lot of traps in the sailing instructions. Gotcha is no way to run a race. We've tried to be as clear as possible in the notice of race and the sailing instructions. We've published a few things that summarize them. There's always a risk in a summary that we leave something important out. We think we've gotten it right. But a few things, you want to make sure that you've got all your crew fully registered and they've got all their information in. Part of that is required by the Coast Guard. Not to get too grim about it, but if they're looking for a body, they want to know what the body looks like. And if they don't find it, they want to know who to call. So that's part of the deal we made with the Coast Guard years ago in running offshore races in the aftermath of Low Speed Chase, where they kind of were very unhappy with how things worked out. There's a number of restricted areas. I've got a slide on that you don't want to go into. We'll see that in a second. We have greatly relaxed, but not eliminated, the daily check-in. How many people have done this in prior years? Okay, so the thing you used to do, we don't do that. We used to require you had to write down your 0800 position and you had like half an hour to get it to us. which particularly for the double handers was a little stressful. We still want your 0800 position for a couple of reasons. One is sometimes the trackers fail. But you now have until noon Pacific Daylight Time to compose a cheery and informative email that includes your position and send it to us. One of the reasons we want cheery and informative is, much as I loved it, we don't do children's hour on the radio anymore. Why? Nobody gets on the radio anymore. So what we will instead be doing, and we tried this on the 2018 return, where actually Jim was the champion cheery informative email writer. We'll take tidbits out of what we get, compile it with other useful information, and send that out as an afternoon fleet newsletter. And we hope that people like that. If you find that it's just clogging your email, you can opt back out again. But we're going to start out with everybody signed up on that. If you've got a protest, you want to follow the procedures that we have set out in the sailing instructions, including notifying us early on, like at your next communications moment, that you've got the protest. That gives us the opportunity to let the other boat know they can do what they can do to cure it, go back and restart 2 days later or whatever. Or whatever they need to do. But I have and then we'll talk for a moment about the prohibited communications. Next slide, please. Starting schedule. Does everybody know when they're starting? Okay, next slide then. Okay. You want to get your starting procedure right. It's not terribly difficult. It's a little different from what you'd be doing in an ordinary in the bay race. First of all, VHF check-in is mandatory. We ask that you don't do it until you can see us visually. We've had frustrating starts in some years where somebody would be trying to check in from, like Vallejo. And we don't know what that means. So wait till you can see us. We will then ask you a question. Don't try to anticipate the question, because we're going to ask you a question anyway. Why do we do that? We do that to be sure that you can hear us as well as be able to transmit. There have been cases, I'm sorry to say, my boat included, where we were able to transmit but not receive. We had to do a quick fix of the missing antenna connection. And again, deal with the Coast Guard, also just common sense. We want to be sure your radio works in both directions. If you're going to be late to the start, like a day late, we set out a procedure for dealing with that in the sailing instructions. I hope that doesn't affect anybody planning to start a day late. Don't worry about it then. We handed out class flags and race participation flags. We want those to be up on the boat at the start and at the finish. It is a long race. Try to be kind at the start. That said, when I was doing the 2016 Pac Cup, I had a world match race champion calling tactics for me. And we're coming in at the pin, and 2 boats coming in the barge. And she says very quietly to me, "Head up a little." And then hollers out on the other side, "No room, no room." They both peel out. Now, we had a long conversation about that. It had 2 parts. One, who closes people out at the start of the Pac Cup, right? But the answer was, who barges at the start of the Pac Cup? So let's try not to do either of those things. Okay, I understand from St. Francis Yacht Club that Mark A has been set. Apparently Scott Easton did that, thank you very much. Mark B, which is the one that is closer to the rocks, don't go between that and the rocks because it's shallow and of course rocks. We will be doing our starts intended at 10-minute intervals. As always, of course, watch for the signals, but the intention is we'll do a start, wait 5 minutes, do another start. We will be on VHF 69 after the Golden Gate Bridge, switch to 16. Again, that's part of the arrangement we set up with the Coast Guard years ago. It's also just good practice to have 16 on when you're out where the big stuff is. And finally, yes, so we're going to have a number of exciting warnings. This is the first of them. On the evening of July 7th, the single-handed racers are doing the longitude race. And the expectation is they will be coming back almost on a reciprocal course with many of our racers. So keep an eye out from them. They will be tired and alone. Anything to add to that?
Tired and alone.
Tired and alone, and like sailing like this guy, so you don't want to get in their way. Next slide, please. Okay, here's the starting area, things to avoid. So do not hit the principal race officer. Here's your start line. We'll have a close-up of that. Anita Rock is here. Again, it is not only restricted, but it is a rock. I just got a really beautiful picture that I'm not showing you of a brand new limiting buoy out there that's yellow. It's the old black collar buoy. And it says ARO, which I think O stands for offset. So you need to leave all those to shoreward. Finally, do not go through the south tower and the point. Yes, there is a current acceleration and there is a rock. So it's also forbidden and we'll throw you out of the race. Finally, don't go between Mile Rock and the land. And from there, you know, there's no more land, so you're fine. Questions? Let's go. I'm trying to rush this through because, you know, we have a lot to cover. We want to leave time for questions and anecdotes and toasts and things. Trackers. Oh, I have a tracker. Before I get to that, any questions on the starting procedures? Okay. We're handing out our trackers in two broad groups with two slightly different sets of instructions. What is common to all of the instructions is the tracker goes at the back of the boat, the yellow brick, I'm sorry, YB, they had to change the name for trademark reasons. YB says put it on the push pin. This Velcro they've got here is very strong. They also suggest you lark's head, you know, luggage tag, I think we call it, this thing. For most boats, you're not going to need to add tape or a zip tie, but feel free to if you want. For Monday, Tuesday starters, the tracker should already be on. We turned them all on. We think you can usually tell that it's on by Velcro. I'm doing this little undergarment here, and it should be flat, little green flashing light there. If it's not on, we have included instructions in the lunch bag that it came in to tell you how to turn it on and off. For those of you starting Thursday, Friday, we give to you turned off, just so as not to waste battery power. To turn it on, let's get close to the camera here. Push the left and right button simultaneously. Then push the up button, and it makes a little cheery tune that tells you it is now on. And to turn it off, you follow the instructions to turn it off. Yes. Particularly for those of you that have these, actually only for those of you that have these on, these guys want to live with a view to the sky. If they don't see the sky, they will keep mindlessly attempting to transmit, saying, I'm here, I'm here, I'm here, until they run their little batteries down and die halfway across the ocean. If your battery goes down, it is possible to recharge these guys. There's a waterproof port here. What we learned on, what was her name? Natalie's boat, that if you open the port and don't screw it back properly, you will end up soaking this thing and it will stop transmitting. So if you end up opening it to recharge it, please screw it back properly. If for any reason your YB tracker fails, we will send you a formal request to give us your position more times, and you are obligated under the sailing instructors to do that. That's just sort of the trade-off. I will say the last several races we have had, except for the screwed up thing, 0 failures with these things. These guys have really, you know, really brought this technology home. The YB Tracker app is available on iPhone for your friends at home. We have a link to it on the main page. on the website. The Pacific Cup is now available as a race option free of charge on the YB Tracker app, so your friends can see that. It's going to be delayed 4 hours for most of the race. At some point, we will make a decision to turn off that delay when it appears not to have a significant tactical advantage for anybody. And that's just going to be unannounced and discretionary on our part. Tracker questions?
The whole fleet will go live.
Yeah, we've tried to get them to do it division by division, and they just look at us like we've been smoking crack or drinking Chardonnay. So it doesn't happen. If we come up with a clever way of doing it, we'll do it. But right now, it's on off. That's all we got. Okay, can we see a list of boats that still have outstanding items? We'll send that out. Where do we pick up the classified? Right here. This is our treasurer, Harold Marsh. Do not mess with Harold. He has information for us.
3 tracker deposits. Accelerando, Daytona, and Velvet Hammer. Just see me in the
We
back.
need 3 tracker deposits from Accelerando, Gitana, and Velvet Hammer.
In the back.
And a question over there.
Yeah, for us to keep the trackers for the return, we need to recharge them.
Actually, you will give the tracker up and we will give you a tracker back. Perhaps the same tracker, perhaps not. We don't know because we don't plan that far in advance. Okay. Next slide. Any final questions on this? Next slide, please. Just click it there. There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, we need to hear from you every day before noon. This needs to be a human initiated as opposed to an automatic report. It is possible to create automatic reports. We will know you did it and not count it. The penalty for missing the report is actually a little more modest than it has been in prior years. It's 20 minutes rather than a full hour, unless of course you're one of those lucky people that are required to provide a frequent position update, in which case now it's tactical advantage for other boats. So we will want, there's a heavier penalty for that if you miss it. Send it to pause@pcup.org, not patcup.org, not pacificcup.org, not pacificcup.com, pcup.org. We went with a nice short email address so it doesn't take up too much of your data budget, although that's not as big a deal as it used to be. Yes.
You use text too?
Excuse me?
We use text messages?
Yes, yes. The other thing you can do is send it to 1415 be salty, and the numeric equivalent of that is on the communications cheat sheet. Yes, text message or email. Thank you for pointing that out. As I mentioned, in the morning we will send you an automatically generated daily position report that is basically a concatenation of the YB tracker data. It'll go out shortly after 0800 Pacific time. We give it just enough time for that data to get into their system, crunched and available for us. We have a non-delayed version of that. So that'll be one near real-time view of the fleet per day. The rest of the time it's all delayed. And that's just kind of been a tradition in ocean racing, is that you don't get to find out where your competition is all the time. Otherwise you may as well be sailing on a lake. At least that's what Jim Gregory, past Commodore, says when they changed the rules for the Bermuda race. Afternoon fleet letter, I talked about news, weather, standings, amusing stuff. We will try to make it as engaging as we can without becoming an undue burden data-wise. Free safety advice, leave VHF 16 on. You never know when somebody's going to try to hail you. Like, did I just run over your boat? I personally prefer to keep transmitting AIS. It is not required this year. I suspect at some future date it's going to be required in most races, particularly after some future bad thing happens that could have been avoided. It's already required in Newport, Bermuda. Oh yes, and don't fall off your boat. Questions? Yes, do stay on the boat. Next slide, please. Okay, so forbidden comms, I talked about that. This actually has been a gotcha for a few boats where they didn't think it through. or somebody on the boat didn't get the word that this is outside assistance. And we followed the lead of most of the other major races in where we draw the line. And basically, if the information you're getting is paid for, if it's paid routing, if it's somebody you've hired to give you information, if you have subscribed to a weather service or a routing service, well, that's forbidden. The line, however, is, if you're paying for the data service itself, like Comcast or something, or Oceans or SailMail, that's okay. So you can pay for the pipeline, but you can't pay for the gas that comes down. That makes sense? And the specific language is in the notice of race and sailing instructions, but that's important. It keeps the race. By the way, that doesn't apply to cruising boats, but it keeps the race fair. And if somebody wants to give you advice for free, but they're just giving it to you, well, that's also outside assistance. Yes, sir.
So just to be specific about this, with Predict Wind, you can get GFS through Predict Wind, which is a free group service, but I can't use Predict Wind because it also offers these other options.
If what you're getting, and I'm really remiss, I have yet to dig into Predict Wind. If what you're getting is free and available to everybody, then you can get it, even if it's from Predict Wind. The fact that they're also offering a paid service shouldn't affect that. If you can't distinguish between the paid service and the free service, you shouldn't use it. Yes.
So I paid for SailMail, and I download GFF grid files.
Right.
I also pay for Predict Wind, and I can get GFS grid files. I can get I'm well aware you cannot use their routing, that's for sure.
Right.
But there's no difference between me paying Predict Wind for GFS information as simply paying SailMail.
I had that debate with the SailMail guys. My understanding, subject to further refinement, is what SailMail offers is free to everybody, period, full stop. What Predict Wind does, apparently they do things, they compress it differently, they sort it differently. And that may make that, you're saying I'm wrong?
You're right.
You're
The
right.
free version Predict Wind is a paid version.
Yeah, I think what you're
I
paying.
think you actually might be correct, because with Predict Wind, they give, here's
Say it again.
the difference. They do give you the GFS, they do give you the European model,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I don't think being separated, you get their PGF.
There you go. Yeah.
They get their P European.
Yeah.
So they do something for those two, they
Yeah.
show me those.
And I ended up having all the email equivalent of almost a pounding on the table argument with Jim Corbin about this. And I am now reflecting his point of view because, as it turns out, he was right.
But you decide what you request, right? You can only request GFS, and that's all you get.
You just have to be careful.
Yeah.
If using something like Predict Wind, you could hit the wrong button and you are gonna get penalized. And it's really easy to hit the wrong button because it's like a separate feature. It's not like it's a different service.
Good to know.
So you gotta be careful.
I see 3 hands. Let's do 1, 2, 3. Sir.
So I've used Predict Wind a lot, and what Jim said is absolutely correct. We're not very conscientious about turning off the downloads for the paid service. We'll get there,
Right.
and that's not legal.
Yeah.
So yes, they have some limited free grids you can download, right? But if you're not really careful about what you select and how you configure that, you will end up downloading the paid ones.
I would personally advise you to stick with the SailMail. They do a lovely job at it.
Yeah, that's
And that way you just clean. It's like not tap dancing on the edge of the grid. Can you? I had 2 hands back here.
If you go on the Predict Wind website itself, they say create a free account, use that for the race. Prevents you from crossing the streams accidentally.
Okay.
And they then say petition you.
I like crossing the streams. That's good. And in the back.
Yeah, I just hear some of the dialogue back and forth. Can you summarize exactly?
Summarize. Do not touch the Predict Wind paid service. It is a trap for the unwary, and you may end up inadvertently violating the rules if not expressly doing so. You're better off using either SailMail or a one-off created Predict Wind free account or some other equivalent. Yeah, I also don't have a secret website that even is technically available. It's only good for you. I have created one of those, but I didn't use it. Yeah, oh, I'm sorry to say this. We will find out because your crew will talk. They will go to the bar and they'll say, oh, you know, this is what happened, right? Or they'll post something on social media. Oh, we were doing great, but then we saw in the real-time feed that we weren't supposed to access, that blah, blah was happening. And we'll go, dude, you broke the rules. Yes, sir.
Hi, I just wanted to mention that there's another app called Luck Grid.
What is it?
It's called Luck Grid,
Oh, dear.
which it's very nice. It functions just like Predict Wind. However, it's not a subscription. You pay once, one-time payment. It's not a subscription.
Now,
But the data. Well,
now, you paid. You know what? Well, seriously, did you pay for the information? Yes, you did. The answer is no.
No, it's actually same information.
Pay for sale.
If it's the same information, use snail mail.
I've already had this conversation with the powers that be. and they said-
I am the powers that be.
Pay for sale.
You know, I don't mean to give you a quick thing. Again, if you're just paying for the carriage of the data, fine. If you're paying for the source of the data, no.
You guys need to spend some time with more modern tools and understand that not everybody wants to use snail mail.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, well, that's why I'm trying to give the generic and then we drill down to examples. Exceptions, cruiser division, anything you want, have fun. For medical or repair advice, again, of course, we're not blocking that. And please log in. And finally, anything you get from the race committee or, you know, in our little emails and stuff. It used to be that a lot of information was exchanged on the radio and children's hour, but we don't have children's hour, so now we do this. Okay. How am I doing on time? I feel like I'm doing okay.
You're doing great.
Okay. As long as we're on communications, welfare and emergency communications. So there's sort of 3-4 levels of extraordinary communications you might make beyond the telling people you caught a fish or having a nice time or you miss them. Just as a side note, one trick that I have found is if you go onto like 1-800-flowers.com and schedule a flower delivery for anybody you've left at home that might have been making this possible, the ride's going to be about halfway across, big payoff. So if something's a little iffy on your boat and you just want to let us know about it, you're not looking for any action, just want to say, you know, yeah, we noticed that we're getting a lot of water in the boat. We think we're under control. Just want to let you know. Please do that. We won't take any action. We won't freak anybody out. But if things later develop, it might be good to have that information. You don't have to do it. It's just something you can do. I know that when I had lost my forestay coming back from Oahu, I called the Coast Guard and they just set up a watch at the bottom of the hour. I'd asked what the bottom of the hour means. It means half past. You know, we just checked in with them, you know, for 6-7 hours till we got things under control. And again, just letting us know something's going on. If it's a more urgent case, something fairly serious, nobody's hurt, you're not sinking, you think you can probably deal with it, you think you're probably not going to necessarily need help, but you might, do definitely let us know. We might, you know, have a conversation with you, perhaps offer free advice, perhaps, if necessary, divert a boat to standby after discussion. We set up our reporting system that if you include 911 in the message, it'll go straight to me and Jim, so that we will not ignore you. When we had a boat that lost its water and its rudder, turned out Betty Gray was just sort of looking at the check-ins, and that's where they reported it. Nobody was planning on doing that. She just happened to notice it. Fortunately, she noticed it when I was 12 miles away from the boat, so I got to be the lucky guy that helped them out. But now we've got it more formalized. Finally, if you're in a serious emergency, a true emergency, you know, sinking, fire, whatever, you know, get on it right away. Maybe a VHF 16 call will get you some help from somebody close by. Notify the Coast Guard with your phone. Use the e-permit if necessary. If you've got time, let us know. We are not the first line of defense. We don't have the resources that the Coast Guard and the International GMDSS, I think I got that right, system has, where they're able to divert commercial traffic from ships of any nation to come help you out, and that's been done. We've had people evacuated for a variety of issues. And finally, if it is a medical issue, our folks in Buzz, you here? Well,
Yeah.
oh, there he is. Buzz is going to talk about these guys. They are fabulous. They can both give you advice and help marshal resources to help you out. Jim, you had something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, everybody has shown they have emergency steering. And that's good, because, I don't know, somebody loses a rudder, probably one person in the room will have a significant rudder problem, maybe two. Maybe every second race, somebody loses part of their rig, all their rig. So, and I want to let you know, in those situations, whether it's rudder or rig, we have had a number of people finish the race. It may take a few extra days, it may be a bit stressful, but showing your seamanship. So this is a little bit about, if you've got adversity, it's, do you want to let us know, let the Coast Guard know? Oh yeah, let us know. But don't expect somebody to come bail you out. Keep going. You will get there. And sometimes the help you may need may be 5 miles off the port or starboard, and we can help with that. Or again, it takes you a few extra days. I mean, Buzz is going to talk later. He lost 2 rudders, one of those boats with 2 rudders, and he finished in 13 days. It's like, that's faster than me with my rudder.
Yeah, when we went and helped out Tiburon after they'd lost their rudder, Will Paxton jury rig set up, and we gave them like 50 gallons of water because they magically lost their water at the same time. So it was pretty tough on them. And I look back, and after we finally let them go after towing them for 19 hours, and those bastards were sailing faster than we were, which made me very unhappy. I told them if they finished before we did, I wanted the rudder back. That was a Passport 40. It's a slower boat. I got a faster one now. Questions on the stuff? Next slide. And now a word from our sponsor. Come visit the Pacific Up's Halfway Cafe. It's located halfway between San Francisco and Oahu. There's a fine array of dining and drinks. You can meet new crew. And I think also, Ronnie, you're going to be set up there. Did you have something you wanted to share with us about social media?
Yeah, absolutely.
Look at it, gets us on microphone. Look at that.
Hey guys, my name is Ronnie. I'll be doing the media this year. Also did it in 2018 as well. And just want to chat with you guys about how we can kind of coordinate and just make it better for you guys and serve you guys, the racers. So a couple things. I'll just go ahead and throw out my work email address. So if you want to shoot photos from the boat, if you want to shoot blog entries from the boat, if you want to shoot anything like that, and you actually want it to go in the daily articles or be used by the race committee or race media, go ahead and you can email me. It's ronniesimpsonmedia@gmail.com. That's RONNIESIMPSON media@gmail.com. No spaces, all lowercase. Also, please just feel free to come see me. Having kind of a technical difficulty today, but we are planning on streaming all of the starts. We're going to have drones and cameras and everything all live. We can also have, you guys could even plug in and we could go live from your boat as you're sailing out the gate, sort of like Zoom technology. So if anyone wants to participate in that and potentially get live coverage from their boat, that would be very cool. If anybody is planning on having drones or video or a way to upload video while you're at sea, please let me know. A couple boats did that last time. So anyways, please just come see me, say hello, and we can chat on how to coordinate and just make it better for you guys.
Can you repeat your email?
Yep, it's RonnieSimpsonmedia@gmail.com. That's RONNIESIMPSON media@gmail.com. Thank you, guys.
And that all happens at the Halfway Cafe. We do love pictures and stories from your halfway party. Do people know about halfway parties? Okay, boy, we lose a lot of tradition when we skip here. Halfway parties, halfway across the ocean, whether you measure that by time or miles, it is traditional to have a party. Sometimes that'll be the only taste of alcohol you have on the way across. Many times people from home will pack presents for you if you tell them that is the tradition. Chocolate is often a bad choice because it's hot. I have also found that underwear is unwelcome, but sometimes useful. So halfway parties are a lot of fun. Let's go to the next slide. Finishing communications. This is in the binder as a summary. By the way, there's a communications cheat sheet that has most of what I've been talking about here. We ask you to turn on your AIS if it isn't already on 100 miles from the finish. Here's a telephone number. That is the Kaneohe Yacht Club base. And that's available for certain phone calls. KYC will also be monitoring VHF 71. So we've got several levels, and this has been traditional since the beginning of Hat Cup, and is virtually identical to Transpec. 100 miles out, we want certain transmissions. You can send those in to fin@pcup.org. 25 miles out, we want a little more information. We will take your best guess at your ETA. I will admit there is a certain amount of snickering as people either guess wrong or get the time zone wrong, but please do your best. You can also tell us which channel you want to use. We'll talk about that in a second. 5 miles out, now we're finally in VHF range. Give them a call on 71, let them know how far you are from the finish. Hint, 5 miles. Unless you missed it. And leave your VHF on and your boat telephone on, please. I believe, yeah, you're gonna required to have one, so you should have it. As you finish, take a photo of a chart plotter that shows your GPS and time, just in case we get confused. YB should be sending us what do they call it? An intercept that lets us know when you cross the finish line. But if it's close, you might want to talk about it. I'll get you in a second, Paul. And call KYC based on 71. They'll say, congratulations, you finished the Pack Cup, which is nice. And then they'll tell you what to do, which is hook you up with your escort boat at the escort rendezvous location. If none of this stuff works, give them a call. Paul, what?
Well, 4 years ago, the positions were taken out to 2 decimal places a minute.
Yes.
This year, there's only 1 decimal place.
Right.
Did you just round off for publication, or did you actually readjust on?
We readjusted.
Okay.
Because 2 decimal points seem like a lot of decimal points. Trying to save on decimal points. It's a limited resource. Next slide. Good for you for noticing. That's impressive. Next slide. Okay, so we got Kathy Pratt, is she here? Forwarded me an email from the Joint Naval Marine Corps base that there will be artillery fire in this zone. So, does anybody have a thought about what to do with this zone?
Go in there.
I've done that. It's a bad idea. No, you won't. This is why we set this limiting mark. We thought about making this whole area a restricted area, but it's very hard to judge a semicircle. So we set this limit mark to basically give you no reason to be in here. Also, it's a very bad idea. So you gotta go around that. We didn't put a specific instruction about not hitting these things or sailing in here. It's a field of wave generators, and we're not sure exactly where they are. So don't go there. And that's one of the reasons we've got the finish line a bit over to the, what is that, north? Yeah. So don't go there. Once you've finished.
Those wave generator things are orange, by the way.
They're orange?
Yeah, boats have hit them too. You don't want to hit it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we figured don't hit them.
Yeah.
Didn't know they were orange. Okay, so here's a reef, and you don't want to hit that either. And it's a little intimidating to think about, but the truth of the matter is, unless you've got your jib wrapped around your forestay, as I did, it's not too tough to, get wrapped up and get your boat under control and proceed here to the rendezvous point, where you will meet your escort boat if you're using the sampan channel. We'll talk about that choice in a second. Here's the sampan channel. Again, it looks intimidating on the chart. It's actually really fun to go through. No, it really is. It really is. It's very exciting. Jim, you want to add anything to this, or should we go to the next slide?
Yeah, I just want to warn people, there's going to be an escort boat, and you may go, hey, once I cross the line, I don't need to worry anymore. No, you need to navigate. Now, the skipper and the navigator, advice, when you're about 100 miles out, go to sleep. Get 3, 4, 5 hours in. We've had a few boats end up on the reef because people weren't sleeping. Hadn't slept in 30 hours, 35 hours. They were kind of in competitive mode, and they ended up in a bad place. And that is absolutely no fun. And if your navigator is really good, there is nothing more fun than crossing the line and flying your chute right down the sampan channel. And if you draw less than 7.5 feet, you can kind of pull that off, and it's great fun.
Jim, and he doesn't pay me to say this, is absolutely right. And we're going to talk a little bit about last day. So you've got two options. All but 2 of our boats are coming into Kaneohe. Wizard and Paiwak are going around because they have very deep keels and they're better accommodated on the other side of the island. You've got 2 options for getting into Kaneohe Bay. The sampan channel, which most of our competitors want to come through. Why? Because you trim an hour off your arrival time. It's a channel that is, I guess, blasted through the coral years ago. And it's about 8 feet deep. The good news is the bottom is sand, so if you're about 8 feet deep and it's about 8 feet deep, and even if you hit the bottom, it just goes instead of, so that's good. It's how wide is it? 40 feet, 50 feet? It's wide enough.
It's pretty narrow though, if it's at night.
Yeah. So let me just get through this, then we'll hit questions. But for your standard 40-footer with a 6-foot keel, it's fine. It's reasonably well marked. You've got an escort boat, but study the chart. Ideally, you've got your waypoints in your chart plotter. This is not a time to decide to learn how to do piloting. So spend some of your prep time in the next couple of days having the finish line marked and your approach to Kaneohe Bay marked. You'll be a lot calmer at the end when you're tired. Do you want to talk about that, or can I go to main ship? Okay, main ship channel. It's covered up by the chat bar, but here it is. Yeah, much deeper, much wider. I have used it once when there was very rough weather in 2016, and actually there was nobody on station here at Kaneohe. We got there and it's like, where's the escort boat? Yeah, we're not coming out. So I said, well, I've done the sampan channel like 10, 12 times. I can do this. And I get across the finish line and I look, and there's like this unbroken line of surf. We're like, yeah, we're gonna go main ship. So main ship channel, you head farther up north. It's very nicely marked. It's pretty wide. It's much more appropriate for heavy weather. We, in fact, got knocked down in the channel. Because like I said, it was very rough weather, and sort of shoved to the right a couple hundred feet. But it was wide enough that it wasn't a problem, other than my sunglasses got cracked. It was a tragedy. Either way, you're going to pick your way through here. It's fairly adequately marked. It's nice to have the escort vessel. Once you're here, and we made it through here without any trouble, so I guess it was nicely marked. Again, you want to study the chart. Once you're here, again, it's pretty well marked. Some of the sandbars shift. Many of them are just marked with like a PVC stake, or as I said, a inattentive racer that's washed up on it. So it's really your choice, and they will not argue with you about what your choice is. Jim, a couple of questions.
Yeah, just for small boats, easy, 424, Express 27, 30 footer. I mean, you could sail all the way in almost to the KYC docks.
And it's fabulous. It's
yeah.
a wonderful sail.
Once you get into these channels, it is dead calm. It is really easy peasy. But at the same time, you have an engine. You should be thinking about, hey, if I need to get it in a pinch, I can do that. You may get an escort boat that sees, wow, you're 24 feet, you just came 2,000 miles. Do you want to tow? So you may get that offer, but it'll be case by case depending on the escort boat.
I didn't know they did tows.
I've been towed in twice.
Huh.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
I'm not sure that's a brag. We'll go to the next slide. Okay, I wonder what the next slide is. Well, Jim already talked about what I call, oh, sorry, hand over there.
Just to confirm, there will be escorts from the ship channel too, or just from San Pedro?
Kathy, do you have an answer to that? Are you here? I don't have the specific answer to that. I'm sorry.
So like in 16, I drive 8 feet, and I just barely bumped going into San Pan Channel one time.
Yeah.
No problem. at 8 feet.
Free boat cleaning. Yeah.
I have a question about the last slide also. We draw 8.1, maybe a little less since our incident. We're a little leery.
If you've loaded your boat up, you draw 8.5. You did in 2016? Well, I don't think there's been a change, so I did.
Just a little bit, I've come in on a J44 a couple times, and they draw 8 feet. And the Hawaiians who stay KYC, there are tides there. They're only a foot or two, but if it's a +1, slam dunk, you're in. If it's a -1, yeah, maybe I don't want to do that.
I think there's a tide chart in the book, and if not, they're online. Jim talked about, and I strongly agree, last Dayitis. Don't let your guard down. You need to be as alert, approaching the finish and following the finish as you've been all the way across. I remember an early sad story. One of the boats and a guy that was training for the Olympics, as they were coming down the main ship channel, they got sloppy and he lost a finger and he lost his Olympic bid. I had a crew that kept wanting to sit on the cabin top in the path of the boom. And the last day, I just got tired of it. And I just was sick of yelling at him or, being the school marm. So I just let him sit there. Almost took his head off with an accidental jibe. I don't want to mention who was driving, but it was me. Fortunately, the boom brake saved his life. But it's easy to say, it's the last day. It doesn't matter. It matters. It matters because you're tiredest. You've been doing this the longest. People are, chilling. Maybe they're even drinking. You got to be careful. I can't stress this enough. We talked about sailing through the Sandpan Channel. I love it. So now you've finished, and Jim's going to talk about this in great detail. So I'm just going to say, clean up your boat, be ready. Try to have your shirt match your pants because you will be mocked for the rest of your life, no matter how well you did.
And for those of you being met by a spouse, taking a shower the day before you finish or the morning of the finish is not a bad thing.
Good point. Let's see what's on the next slide. I don't remember. This is you, Jim.
Yeah.
You want this pointing?
Okay, so do expect a guide boat. If you do take the main ship channel, there's a good chance the guide boat's going to say no. This is a long ride for somebody from KYC. But if you're doing the main ship channel, you probably don't need the guide boat, but you might ask. They might say yes. Do recognize that for those of you who are 7 feet and under, you will probably be against the bulkhead, so med moored, stern in. At least if you're an early finisher. Later on, you're kind of out of road. But that's about 7 feet of water. I know a few people have said, yeah, I'd rather be in a slip. There's a limited number of slips at KYC. The beauty is, if you're med moored against the bulkhead, you can pull your car up about 5 feet from the stern of your boat, which is a thing of beauty when you're kind of loading and unloading.
Front row seat to the parties.
Yeah, front row seat to the parties. You get to have cocktails while the world goes by. You can't beat it. But be prepared, med moored. Now, something that was on the prior slide, we had to put in the rules that you actually have to bring fenders, because we had people showing up with no fenders, and it was not a good situation for some people. Yeah. Okay. When you finish, you're going to want to get off the boat, but you can't get off the boat. There's going to be an inspector who's going to jump on the boat. If it goes right, this is like a 2-minute affair. The inspectors are going to check a few important items. Do you have your storm sails? They were supposed to be there. Show me, where's your life raft again? Yeah, can you get that on deck in 30 seconds or 15 seconds now, isn't it? Where's your emergency water? So they're going to ask to see a few things. They're going to collect the ag form. They're going to ask you, you did get rid of all your fruit and vegetables like several miles out, and you don't have them on the boat any longer. I probably don't have to say this, but we have had people who showed up with pets. No, please, this is not a race to bring pets.
It's a hassle.
And with COVID, it's,
Fuck that.
you don't want to. Yeah. Yeah, so again, now, this should just take 2 or 3 minutes to get you sorted. And the last thing that happens before you get off the boat is you try to get a picture of you and the crew while you're still on the boat. As soon as one of you steps on land, it's chaos. People catching up with family, running to the bathroom, doing whatever, having too many drinks, get thrown in the water, which is great. So it's really good fun. So just give us those 2 or 3 minutes. Yeah.
We got a few relevant questions on chat. Shall we pull them up?
Sure.
Okay, so question from
The boat is not staying in Kaneohe Bay. What's the deal? So we know of 2 boats that are going to cross the finish line and hit straight to a commercial dock. So Wizard and Pyewacket, who are 70 foot,
and they
18, 19 feet of
checked
water.
with us in advance.
Yes, and we have talked to them. They've told us where they're going. We have set up communication. We're going to be doing some texting with them to make sure we can meet them, because we still have to do the inspection just because they're going on the other side of the island. So we need to do that. So if there's anyone other than those 2 boats who's also going to do a kind of turn and burn, do let us know so we can make arrangements.
Because otherwise you are required to sail to Kaneohe, and if you don't, you'll be penalized.
Oh, I didn't know that,
I
Mike.
believe so. Oh, yes.
You can't change your mind or
Well, just let us know.
let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing, you may plan to go to Kaneohe, but maybe your rudder is not really safe for going to Kaneohe. And you can manage to cross the finish line, but you're gonna immediately want to go to the other side of the island to get your boat hauled. So there's a couple things that could come up, but absolutely let us know. No surprises, please.
Right. So Shadow 2 will be Shadow 2. If you're out there, send us an email and we'll work it out.
Now, a lot of boats that come into Kaneohe for a day or 2, and then they head to Waikiki or kind of wherever. So if you're gonna do a turn and burn, yeah, it sounds like we might have 3 of those right now. The other thing is we'd like to be there to not just give you this 2-minute inspection and get the ag form to make sure you're legal. I think we give you a few Mai Tais and some fresh fruit, maybe some hugs, some Lays. Yeah. Okay, next slide.
We need to talk about the tea leaves.
Oh, the tea leaves.
All right, I forgot about that.
Who's got the tea leaves?
Talk about tea leaves and I'll talk about family support.
You may have to help me here, Mike. Is this for before the start or after the start?
Well,
Or at the finish?
oh, you don't know.
No,
Okay,
I've
okay.
had it every which way.
There's
There's the tea leaves you're supposed to put on the bow pulpit of your boat.
Yeah, that's what I assume.
And there is nothing cooler than you finish and you still have the tea leaves on the bow of your boat.
They look tired though.
Yes.
So tell me, this is
It's
what I was
good
told.
luck.
This is what I was told. You tie the tea leaf to the bow of the boat because this plant, which is sacred, wants to find its way home, right? And it will help guide your boat to Hawaii.
Yes.
And apparently, according to Jim, it looks cool if you have a raggedy old leaf on the front of your boat and you want to ride.
When you get to Hawaii,
When you
and
get
the
to Hawaii.
Hawaiians greet you and they go, wow,
Okay.
you belong here. The old, Ohana thing.
And our thanks to Kim Ickler
Brought
for
over tea
transporting
leaves.
the leaves out for us.
How did she get these through California ag?
Would you argue with Kim?
No. Okay,
Okay.
what's next?
I think it's something for me.
It's you.
Yeah. I think the next one, I'll just do this quickly. So, we do a lot of things to support your family and your spectators. The big one, and it took, years for us to find a source that does a reliable job, and that's YB tracking. There's a tracker, there's a link to it on the site. As I mentioned earlier, the app is now up and running. Oh, here. Fine. The app, the tea leaf, the legend of the tea leaf. The app is up and running, so you can load that up and tell them they can do that. Ronnie and others will be doing.
YB Races just added backup to their thing like
Yeah.
5 minutes ago, just so you know.
Okay, it's been up for like an hour, but anyway.
An hour, sorry.
Yeah, an hour. It's been up for an hour. What's taking you so long? We're gonna have updates on the website, updates on social media, principally Facebook and Twitter, or just straight Facebook, right?
We're gonna be doing the starts to Facebook Live, but we mostly update to Instagram and just share it across.
Right,
With
okay.
these posts.
So if you're Insta or if you're old and use Facebook like me, it'll be there. for
And
you.
then the start broadcasts that are live, they'll also get updated, not live, to YouTube a few hours later. So
Great.
anyone can
Yeah.
watch it.
Swell. One thing my wife advised me on, particularly in sending, posting things that my very nervous dad would be reading, is you want to consider exactly how exciting you want to describe things. You are not having a near-death experience, and if you are, we would appreciate if you just keep quiet about it. But it's exciting. It's beautiful. Just there's no need to cause undue anxiety among your family. They're already anxious enough. In case of emergency, of course, we may contact your contacts. We will do what we can. We have a crisis communication plan that Harold Marsh has taken the lead in drafting, which we have mercifully not had to use, I think. And the idea there is if something goes sideways for somebody, we just keep the panic from spreading. Everybody should remain calm as long as they can. KYC will have screens up that will show a lot of information if they do like they've done in prior years, and I imagine they will. And sign up for your event tickets before they run out. Right? Questions on that? Cool. What's the next slide? We totally rehearsed this. Weather briefing. Jim. What this? No.
Okay, weather. Little bit of a preface here. Weather changes. And you can get these 16-day grids. And somewhere around 5 days, it's imaginary. It's crystal ball gazing. So when I go through this is from this morning. Is it reasonably okay for the Monday starters? Yeah. Tuesday starters, man, I keep my eyes open. Wednesday starters, who the hell knows? So this commentary is really about the first day or two of the starts. And it's really not for people who, on the bigger, faster boats, you got expert full-time navigators. So people who really haven't done this before, just to give you an idea of what you're going to be dealing with. This is the 48-hour prop from this morning. This is 2 days from now. So this is Monday. Well, it's probably in the wee hours because it's 2 days GMT. And as you can see, there's a low right offshore. And lows spin counterclockwise. So the wind's going this way. So instead of go out the gate, turn left on port tack, go, you're going to be on say starboard tack and go, you're going to be on port tack. And it may be that way for a day or two. Sorry. Next slide. It's okay. So now we're going to get 96 hours, 4 days. This is kind of at the limit you can trust it. And I'll tell you, when I see these lows all over the place, you're probably going, shit, what is this? It's like a minefield. Just recognize this is 4 days from now. Will it be this way? It might be, but things change pretty dramatically. The other thing to recognize is in the when they forecast, looking into the future is not a reliable thing to do. And though they have these great computers, we all know sometime in early July, mid-July, the high pressure region locks in and lows, cutoff lows generally go away. And they can never predict when that actually happens. The prediction never shows the lows go away and the highs there. At least when it really happens, you can't tell. So for those of you starting, check your weather. You could literally wake up Monday morning and all these small little cutoff lows have gone away. So keep an eye on it. Again, Monday starter, Tuesday morning, you kind of seasick, just looking at your sea legs. It's like, I don't really want to check the weather. Check the weather. Because again, in early July is when things can change quite a bit day to day. But yeah, pretty interesting. I would normally start on a Monday, so I'm like, oh, but I don't have to figure this one out.
So let's start talking about starting a day late.
Well, you don't get credit for it.
We're talking about how there's open.
Okay, so here's a grid. This is the Saturday. This is the depressing part. This is this morning. Actually, looks like a great time to start this morning. Give me the next. This is Monday morning. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge. And again, you can see it's probably on a port tack, staying pointing as high as you can, keeping the boat going in what may be relatively light air. Yeah, so it's going to be interesting, and it gets more interesting because there's all these other little bobbles and twists, if you believe it. Next one.
So don't skimp on your water supply.
So I have a Cal 40, so I did an expedition route this morning, assuming a Monday start, what would I do? And it says, after that relatively modest bit on port tack, I'm going to go on a starboard and I'm going to go way the hell south. In fact, I've never gone that far south before. I have regretted not going far south enough. But yeah, pretty crazy. And if you're getting grids and you're looking at the weather over time, you'll see a number of kind of low pressure eddy things going on in the middle of the course. Next slide. I just wanted to take a kind of a close look, like what's going on, Gulf of the Farallones kind of stuff for the Monday starters. And again, you can see it's a southerly, it's port tack, and it's modest. Though it does look like if you can get out past the Farallones, there'll be some wind. Now on Tuesday, it shows like no wind all the way out past the Farallones. Now, 4 days from now, it's getting on the crystal ball gazing, can't count on that side of things. But what else does this mean? if you decided to leave your number one at home, maybe that was not a good idea. If you're a light boat, maybe you put the code 0, and, you know, after that bit on port tack, you go on starboard, you put your code 0 up, and you don't take it down until you're way south. But we'll see. I'll be curious to see where some of the boats here. Is like Linda or Bill here?
She's online.
Oh, she's online? Oh, I can't call on her. What should I ask? Andy? Who's done this before? He'll have an opinion. Andy, you got an opinion? What would you do? Andy, you're at Express 37. You're starting Wednesday, right? Tuesday.
Yeah, two really talented guys that one of the name you already mentioned, and he said, you know what? Everybody says go south. How are you gonna go south? There's no wind to go south. He said set a waypoint out there on the run line 250 miles out, and take whatever tack you can to get out the run line. That way you're making miles toward the barn. Then the other guy that I really respect said head south, keep going south. If you have to drag the boat up the beach, keep going south to LA. So, but like you show, if the weather forecasts are accurate, but one thing you said that I totally agree with is when that high does form up, a lot of times it forms up in a hurry and blows out all those little lows. So it can, like you said, it can change a lot in 4 days.
Okay. I can't. I think I got another slide.
I think you do. Ooh, look at that. What is that?
So what is this? This is Wednesday, just to get a, you know, yeah, there we are, 200-300 miles out, and it's still a bit messy, to say the least. Which is why you kind of go, hey, you gotta go due south for 2 days, something along those lines. And there have been years, I remember a year, somebody put a chute up early, went almost due south for 2 days. As the wind built, they came up, they got in the trades first, and they kicked butt in their division, even though they did huge number of extra miles to get there.
Okay, let's see if we have any chat questions.
Questions?
Hi, guys, we can't see the board. Oops.
That's not good.
Can you see the board now, Lori? Okay.
Questions from the audience? I tell you, I did the single-handed transpac last year. We started in a cutoff low. Man, the first 2 days were hard. But in the end, the wind filled in and, you know, life was good. The other thing, you know, that route I showed for my boat, so it looked kind of wacky and the wind was light. It showed 13-day passage. And my boat's you know, 11, 12, 13 days. 11 when it's blowing hell, 13 when it's, you know, kind of modest. But that's not bad. It's not like it's 15 or 16 days. It's a reasonable time. Okay.
We got
ready.
Stories and a raffle, I think. And I
Stories.
lost my microphone.
Yeah, it's here.
Tell a story.
Tell a story.
Tell a story.
More questions. Want to do questions instead?
Yeah, let's do any open questions, and then maybe the questions will lead to a good story or two. Anything goes. Yes, sir.
The return, medical, online medical for the return, I don't think I've heard.
Oh, we forgot Buzz.
Oh, how do we do that?
I don't know. Buzz Blackett, you here somewhere?
Come up here.
Come on up.
Wow. Damn.
We were supposed to have a slide for you.
You know what I bet happened when we dropped in the weather slides? We accidentally deleted.
Dropped them?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Buzz.
Now, before Buzz gets up, you remember that story I said where boat lost 2 rudders and still finished in 13 days? Well, that was Buzz.
Who needs rudders?
Yeah. And him and Jim Antrim on Io, this carbon Antrim 27 rocket ship. Aren't both of you guys over 70? Huh? Is that a nice thing to say?
Lots of experience. I want to talk for a little bit about the maritime medical access stuff. If you have your binder, open up to tab 3, The information sheet is in there. We don't have a slide for that. Okay. Anyway, I called Jessie Huang yesterday. She's the program administrator for the service they're going to provide to us. And I asked her if there were any information or suggestions she wanted to make at this late date for our fleet. And the first thing that she told me was that they wanted people to use the service, meaning that if you're in doubt about whether you have a real medical problem, feel free to call them and get their input on it. Don't wait until the situation has become scary. So they're on call 24/7, and they want to provide as much help as they can. The second thing, I asked her what was the biggest problem that they had advising people like us by telephone, and she said that that knowing the list of medications that you have on board and having that information handy when you make the call is absolutely key. So that's on that information sheet. That's one of the things that they want you to be able to discuss when you call them. But so if you are putting together your med kit still, as I am, make a separate list of all the medications you've got, so there's you don't lose any time or get bad advice because you think you have something, but you can't find it. The third thing I asked was, what about COVID? And she said, well, your sailboats are pretty small, so you probably can't isolate, which I guess is true unless you're on Pyewacket. But she said, relieving people from as much of their duties as you can, which is sort of common sense. And she said, make sure that you have your antigen tests. So even though it sometimes takes a long time for them to show that somebody is actually infected, they're going to want that information if you're calling about a COVID-related symptom. So once again, this is a great service, and it has saved literally the lives of at least one sailor that I know of, and probably a couple of others over the last years. So use it. Any questions? Yeah.
Is it good for return also?
Yeah. For the return trip, you sign up and let us know, and then we give them a list of all the boats that are using the service for the return trip. So they are available, but it's a separate charge. Can that be done online?
Online, $80 on the website shop.
Yeah.
So to kind of go a little bit further, is this something that is not pack up related, but if we're going down the coast, can you subscribe for like a month period of time for like $80? It's not pack up related.
I think we're getting a bulk discount, and I don't know the answer whether that's available retail.
I tried to get it for this one-handed transpac and couldn't do it. It's got to be big enough for them to want to bother.
Signs point to no.
Yeah.
Mark. What's the time when the return is? The month of August. Yeah, the question was, what time frame can you get the service? And the answer is through August. Another question in the back.
Is there any interest in them having medical sheets for each of the crew in advance, or do you just carry those on the boat?
We actually have a spot on the crew registration for you to self-declare by crew member any medical information that you think might be relevant. But they haven't requested that kind
Well,
of information in advance.
We gave them access, remember, Mike?
Yeah, they'll have access to
So
whatever
they
you
will-
posted, but they don't want us to shove it to them now.
That's correct. So if you think there's something that they will want to know, go on the website, add it for that crew, and then if they click on that boat, they will have that information. One other thing on a different subject, there was a little question before about whether the escort service is available if you're bringing your boat in the shipping channel. And while I don't know if there's been a change in policy, California Condor, we went in the deep water shipping channel 4 times and there was an escort each time. So I think if they know that you want to go in that deep water channel, they will send an escort boat that is big enough and has people that know that channel. Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Buzz. And I'm probably gonna use that to, story time kind of thing. Because on this medical thing, I've had to use the service. It's a thing of beauty, I'll tell you. Because they understand where you're coming from. You're on a boat. You're talking to them over this squeaky, garbled Iridium phone, Iridium Go with your cell phone. They will quickly say, hey, can we use email? Your regular doctor is gonna refuse to talk after a while, because after they ask you the same thing 3 times, they're gonna give up. Your regular doctor is gonna go, oh, you need this drug and that drug, and it's like, yeah, I don't have this drug or that drug, and I don't have a pharmacy nearby. And the guys at George Washington, they get all of this. And they're 24/7, and I've seen 2 other competitors use it. I have used it on the return home. It is really good. Yeah. Now, the last thing is just a note for the skippers. This is a little hard one. Medical stuff is, privacy is a big deal. People aren't always honest about an illness they may have. They may not be totally upfront because it's like, they really want to do that trip to Hawaii. So if you go back several years, we had an example of somebody who was pre-diabetic, but they didn't have to take insulin. They thought everything was fine. And then 3 days of seasickness, not eating right, dehydrated. They went into diabetic shock. The Coast Guard had to drop drugs from a C-130. Yeah, so these kind of things happen. Or coming back, it's a long trip, going upwind for a long time. Things like staph infection can get kind of out of control and pretty nasty, and you need the right drugs. Now, at this point, everybody should have the right antibiotics. If it turns out you don't, again, talking about it, finding out who else in the area may have the antibiotics that you need. In a single-handed race, we had somebody actually have to get off their boat to get on a big ship who had IV antibiotics to take care of the staph infection they had at the time. And Ronnie.
That was me and Ruben.
Yeah, Ronnie here actually picked up the boat with nobody on it before it hit Maui. Talk about a bizarre.
That was a
bizarre
story,
event.
yeah.
Okay, what other stories?
Well, we could ask who's planning on fishing.
Ooh.
Yeah. Okay, advice on fishing. Don't bring too big a lure. Seriously, 4 inches, 6 inches, one of these squiddy things, oh, they're great. You get mahi-mahi. If you put a lure out early, you may get an albacore. If you keep a lure out late in the last 2 days, you get a big hunking 100-pound ahi. If you put a big lure out, one of these kind of 8-inch things, you'll get something bigger than you want. But whenever I've gone fishing, we've always gotten fish. Not always a lot of fish. A few times I only got maybe 2, 1 every second day. But I did one trip and I think around 20 fish. We decided to pull the lines in and stop fishing.
Well, and for the lighter boats, of course, you don't want to deal with that drag. The rule we had on Cayenne was you catch it, clean it, which cut back on the fishing activity.
Oh, my rule was If we're way ahead of the second place boat, we go fishing. And if we're way behind,
We go
in the back of the pack, we go fishing.
Yeah.
Which is really, it's a good, and on the trip back, it's, you know, catching fish in the morning and you get a little sashimi and then you make maybe some Baja tacos in the afternoon and maybe you have steaks in the evening.
And as I recall on my boat, when we caught tuna, about day 3, Reese Ballmer whined from his bunk, "Oh my God, tuna again."
Again, the trip back, the trip
Well, yeah,
back.
I have 2 questions on
Tuna is
trip back.
wonderful.
So
I mean,
Jim loves the trip back. We did the trip back in 2016 on Santa Cruz 50. And my boat partner described it as living in an elevator shaft. It was a tough return. But it does lead to a question. How many people are planning on sailing back? Okay, so we have return trackers available. You need to sign up in advance. There will be a briefing on Saturday morning.
Yeah, so the awards banquet's on a Friday afternoon, evening, and on the next Saturday morning, probably 10 a.m., we'll have a little weather briefing to kind of let people know how the weather's stacking up. Usually the biggest chunk of boats leave on that kind of Sunday, Monday. People have to go back to work, those of us who still work.
I don't know. How many people are planning on flying back? Wow, flying back. Caitlin, you want to say anything about flying back? What? Why, look, it's our sponsorship chair, Caitlin Gunakus and Julie Kurtz from Alaska Airlines. What a coincidence.
It's almost like we just said.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Julie Kurtz with Alaska Airlines. We are thrilled to be returning as a sponsor, the airline sponsor of the Pacific Cup 2022. And what we thought we would end your meeting with is giving away a couple of tickets on Alaska. You can use these if you have a family member that wants to go to the race or to fly back, or you can use them to any of the 115 destinations that we fly, including Mexico and Costa Rica. So without further ado.
Yeah.
Everybody who checked in got 2 tickets, so you're all equally entered. Okay, so this is for the first one, there's 2 total. I'll give you all a minute to find these. And thanks again to Julie and Alaska Airlines. Her sponsorship helps support all of the training programs that we're able to offer for the Pacific Offshore Academy, Safety at Sea, everything that led up to this point to help you feel really prepared for the crossing and to feel connected to your other sailors in this community. So thank you so much, Julie, for everything. Here's the first ticket. It's 9663111.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right, it feels like an inside job because that's my skipper.
If you
But
have,
I swear I mixed it.
if you have a complaint, she'll be on city lights, just catch up to them.
Yeah. We're gonna catch up to other people because we're starting Thursday afternoon. He's got a big family, so he's sailing with 2 of his daughters and his cousin. So we got to get the rest of them over there to meet us. Congrats, Aaron. Okay, second ticket. Okay, 9663149. There you go.
Not city lights.
Not city. I don't know, you should tell us who you're sailing with. Who are you sailing with?
With one on the Escarine.
That's great. Good. Okay, excellent.
There you go. All the instructions are in there.
Good flight.
Thanks
Safe
a lot.
crossing. Thank you, everyone. We have a lot of sponsors that help make this happen. Hopefully you got some canned cocktails from Salt Point downstairs. Our other liquor partner is Gosling's Rum, who's making the rum party happen at Kaneohe. So have a Mai Tai there on them. We also have some amazing, oh, excellent. I don't need to remember all this. BMW of San Rafael, Samand, which is a women's sailwear. They are going to be raffling off a jacket at the Bon Voyage party as well. Asia Hawaii made our container happen, which is excellent. It helps us get all of our things across the ocean and your things as well. Ocean Navigator magazine, you get a free digital subscription as part of your participation in the event, so take advantage of that. North Sales ran a couple of really educational and helpful webinars, and then we have a raft of really important environmental sponsors as well. Sailors for the Sea, we are going to be a certified clean regatta, so we've made several changes since 2020 when we started partnering with them to make this whole race super sustainable. The race guides are printed this year for the first time on recycled paper, and we've eliminated straws and single-use plastics, which apparently July is single-use plastic month, reduced single-use plastic month, so we're very timely as always. So lots of changes that can help us be better sailors for the sea across the board, as well as the Marine Mammal Rescue Center, Ocean Voyages Institute, Green Yachts, International Bird Rescue. So thanks to everybody there, Williams and Plath, Olita, there's a bunch of sunscreen that's all mineral safe in your bags. Mostly everybody. So
Salt Point. Oh,
Salt Point, yeah, everybody got their canned cocktails. Don't drink them here.
don't drink them here. Otherwise, RSC may get in trouble.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Julie.
One more, we're actually a little early here.
Well, let's make some stuff out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, new rule. You gotta, I don't know, go
I
ahead.
got a few more loose ends. So Pirate Slayer is downstairs for people who want to buy swag. I will tell you, if you're a woman or your significant other is a woman, we got
Don't do
oh, yeah. And you like one of these cool shirts, they got plenty of them and a bunch more. So definitely go down there and check it out. Yeah, and the party really doesn't start till 4.
We got Burgies for sale. So people have been requesting this all year. We keep forgetting to bring them. These are the nice prestige flag sewn Burgies. And Harold Marsh stepped up to volunteer to handle the sales of those. If you want something a little more substantial than these lighter flags, which were very inexpensive.
Well, we should go back to just questions. I mean, anything goes. If you're you're unsure about, now's the time.
Free advice.
So the 2 channels.
2 channels.
Would night or day be part of the decision?
Well, you know, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Yeah, you know, if I had a boat that was marginal for doing the sampan channel, no, personally, no, I'd go either way. I'd go, if I fit sampan channel, I'd go sampan channel either way. I'm assuming that there's an escort boat. I've got decent navigation. I'm able to look for and locate the markers which are lit. So I wouldn't want to spend that extra hour going up north, back and around and down. I don't think you do anything for yourself. But you decide what makes sense for you.
I do want to then, so it looks like we're going to break it up.
I think so.
I would like everyone to give, a big applause. To make this race happen, there's like 100 people on this side. There's another 200 plus on the Kaneohe side, which many of you will see. You saw Buzz. We heard from Caitlin, Michael. There's a big crowd out there, and I won't try to name everybody. Thank you. I want to thank you for your patience. Both, I know the logistics, actually running the race is a lot to it, but every one of you has kind of run the gauntlet in terms of getting ready to do this race. And it's really congratulations to you for getting to the starting line.
We'll both be hanging around. Feel free to ask Jim really hard questions or me easy ones, and we'll stick around at least. You stick around for the party, aren't you, Jim?
Yes, he is. Mary got roped into planning it, so if you like to tell her. See y'all.
So Ronnie, we did a commemorative ad for this year's race.
Oh, yeah, nice, nice.
He's the touch base.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were.
I am. So it's like I mean, said to get like. This is that thing, right? What were you said, dude, you signed away everything. You think it was videos. Those are ads. We actually did those 20.
Sorry, I was confused for a second, because there's like a lot of people saying.
Yeah, it's okay.
Because I thought you were. So you don't have to. Yeah, you can call the app. Call the app, and then you go your logs. All their files are. I never got dismashed. That was my own 27. Ruben got dispatched in.
I didn't.
Oh, okay. That's good. Hey, sorry, I got to stop here.
Folks, Elizabeth Bishop is here. If anybody needs the last few emergency water seals, they are here. Otherwise, we will give them to the Commodore and that'll be his problem.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you're busy. Obviously, anytime.
Well,
Who's looking for Harold?
thank you.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah, get the photo.
Okay. If your water bottle is factory sealed, you don't need a plastic seal. If you're looking for Harold to buy a Virgie, he's standing right here.